Good morning. Today's lecture is about posterior compartment of leg. If we see the cutaneous innervation, the portion of this popliteal fossa, this is supplied by, in continuation from above, this is supplied by the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh or the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. Now, below this mid calf region, this portion is supplied by sural nerve, which is a branch of tibial nerve, which gets a communicating branch from the common peroneal nerve also. We will discuss that. Then this lateral portion, this is supplied by this lateral sural cutaneous nerve or the lateral cutaneous nerve of calf, which is a branch of common peroneal nerve. And this medial portion, this is supplied by the saphenous nerve, which is a branch of the femoral nerve. So this is the cutaneous innervation of this posterior portion of the leg. Now this sural nerve is formed by this union between these terminal branches of terminal cutaneous branches of tibial nerve and common peroneal nerve. This medial sural cutaneous nerve, which is a branch from the cutaneous branch from the tibial nerve, it gets a communicating branch. So the communicating branch from this lateral surus cutaneous nerve, which is a terminal cutaneous branch from the common peroneal nerve, and as they join together, they unite together, they form this sural nerve. It supplies the skin uh, in this mid portion of the calf, and also below it supplies this lateral border of the foot. So this medial sural cutaneous nerve, it lies between these two heads of the gastrocnemius, and below the mid calf it pierces this deep fascia and it joins this communicating branch from the lateral surus cutaneous nerve. Then this this sural nerve, it descends close to the lateral margin of the tendocalcaneus, and it lies, this portion, it lies close to this small saphenous vein, and it is accompanied by this small saphenous vein throughout its course. When it pierces, it also, this small saphenous vein, it also pierces the deep fascia. Then it continues as the lateral dorsal cutaneous nerve along the lateral margin of foot and the little toe. And this nerve, it is often used for the nerve graft. Another cutaneous structure is this small saphenous vein. Small saphenous vein, we have already discussed how it arises from this lateral aspect of the dorsal venous arch. Then it ascends behind this lateral malleolus, and this portion onward, it is accompanied by the sural nerve. So it is accompanied by this sural nerve, which is lying just lateral to this, and in the mid calf region it pierces the deep fascia, fascia crura, and passes between the two heads of gastrocnemius, and in the lower part of the popliteal fossa it dips deeper and ends in the popliteal vein. So this portion we have already discussed in the chapter of the venous drainage. Now about this posterior compartment. The posterior compartment, which is also known as, because of the muscle action, flexor compartment. Now this is the portion, the transverse section showing the muscles, the compartment of this leg. So this portion from this posterior facial septum or posterior intermuscular septum on the lateral aspect, and to this posterior border of the tibia. This whole portion, it is wrapped exteriorly by the fascia crura, the deep fascia, and internally it is bounded by this interosseous membrane. So this is the posterior compartment. So anteriorly and laterally, this is the posterior intermuscular septa. Medially is this lateral border of the tibia. On the external aspect bounded by the crural fascia, on the internal aspect is bounded by this interosseous membrane. Now this bulky compartment, it is divided by this transverse septa. This is the transverse septa. Now this transverse septa, it divides this portion into this superficial and deep compartment, and this deep transverse fascia is here. This is the deep transverse fascia or the transverse septa. So the superficial group, it consists of these muscles which forms a triceps suri, known as two heads of the gastrocnemius, then plantaris, and deeper is the soleus. And in the deep group, the muscles are two flexors of the fingers, so flexor hallucis longus, then is the flexor digitorum longus, there is another muscle which is popliteus, and in the deeper aspect near the interosseous membrane is the tibialis posterior. Blood supply, one nerve, one compartment. So this is the nerve supply is the tibial nerve, and vascularity is by the posterior tibial artery. So this is the flexor compartment or the posterior compartment of leg. Now we will discuss this superficial group of muscles starting with the gastrocnemius. Now this gastrocnemius, it has these two heads, a medial head which is larger, a lateral head which is slender. So now this larger medial head, it is attached to a depression at the upper and posterior part of the medial condyle behind the adductor tubercle, and the lateral head, it is attached to the lateral surface of the lateral condyle just below the attachment of the popliteus. And these two fleshy belly, they unite just above this aponeurotic portion. They both, this fleshy belly, they ends at the mid calf region, and they start inserting into this aponeurotic. So the fibers, they are inserting anteriorly into this aponeurosis, and posteriorly this aponeurosis, it gets the fibers from the soleus. So that's how this tendoachelis or the tendocalcaneus is being formed. So initially it is a flattened aponeurotic portion. So it gets anteriorly, this flattened aponeurotic portion gets anteriorly the fibers of from the gastrocnemius, where they are starting uniting, and on the deeper aspect it gets the attachment of the soleus. Also it gets the attachment of the plantaris on this aspect also, but that in the lowermost portion, up to the lowermost portion. Now it is inserting into the posterior surface of the calcaneus via this tendocalcaneus. Now the vascularity is by the sural artery. There are two set of sural artery, medial and lateral, and both are the branches of popliteal artery. And innervation is by the tibial nerve, nerve root being S1, S2, and action since it crosses both the knee joint as well as the ankle joint. So it is a flexure of the knee as well as the plantar flexure at the ankle. In the triceps action of the triceps suri, we will discuss the action of both these muscles, gastrocnemius as well as soleus. The next muscle is plantaris. Plantaris is this thin cylinder muscle, and is originate from this lateral supracondylar ridge just above the attachment of the lateral head of the gastrocnemius, and it has this short fleshy belly and this long tendon, plantaris tendon, and this long tendon of the plantaris, it joins the tendocalcaneus much lower portion, in the much lower portion. So it is attached to the calcaneus finally through the tendocalcaneus. But since it is a slender thin portion, this tendon, it is sometimes misdiagnosed or misinterpreted as being a nerve. So it is often called the beginner's nerve. This long and shiny tendon misinterpreted as the nerve. So it is known as the beginner's nerve. The vascularity is from the branch of the popliteal artery. Innervation is by the tibial nerve, and the functional aspect, it is thought to be vestigial, similar to that of the palmaris longus. So it is thought to be a homologue of the palmaris. Now next is this thick muscle, which is lying just deeper to the gastrocnemius or just anterior to the gastrocnemius. This is the soleus. Now soleus, it arises from the posterior surface of head and proximal quarter of the fibular shaft. This portion. So it arises from this posterior surface of head and proximal quarter of the fibular shaft, the soleal line, and the middle third of the medial border of the tibia, and between them there is aponeurotic arch, which is known as the soleal arch. The soleal arch which overlies this neurovascular, the posterior tibial artery and the tibial nerve, they both pass deeper to this soleal arch. So from these origin, this muscle, the fleshy belly, it descends down and insert in the deeper aspect of the tendocalcaneus, and through that it is attached to the posterior surface of the calcaneus. So it is joining this tendocalcaneus from the deeper portion, deeper aspect. Now the vascularity is by, and this muscle is, though it is fully covered by the gastrocnemius on the mid calf up to the mid calf region, below when the tendocalcaneus is being formed, this fleshy belly is evident on the lateral side, both bilateral side of this tendocalcaneus. So here these muscles, they can be appreciated. The vascularity superiorly by the branch of the popliteal artery and inferiorly by the branch of from the fibular or the posterior tibial artery. So there are two set of branches, superior and inferior set of branches. And venous plexus, we have already discussed how it aids in the venous return from the lower limb against the gravity by this intramuscular pump known as the soleal pump. So in the intramuscular region there is a rich plexus, venous plexus, which aids in the venous drainage from the lower limb. Innervation is by the tibial nerve, nerve root being S1, S2, and action is plantar flexure at the ankle joint, and it is mainly postural. We will discuss that. Now the triceps suri. So these three muscles, especially these two, gastrocnemius and soleus, the plantaris is being vestigial. So these combine together to form this triceps suri, because these muscles, though they are originating from the different sources, they combine to form this tendocalcaneus, and they are attached to the posterior surface of this calcaneus. So these muscles, they are the chief plantar flexor of the foot, working from above. And since gastrocnemius is also attached to this or crosses this knee joint also, so it is a flexor of the knee joint also. So gastrocnemius, they provide the force for propulsion. So they have this forceful activity. So they provide the force for propulsion, as in walking, running, leaping, jumping. So where you need the force, and that force is provided by the contraction from the gastrocnemius. And soleus, though it also contributes in that, but its action is mainly postural, because of the type of fiber it has got, fatigue resistant type 1 slow twitch variety fiber. So acting from below means the foot is fixed, so acting from below, it is said to be more concerned with keeping the leg steady on the foot, like in the standing or in quiet walking, tiptoe walking like. So it is more a postural muscle. So it is always in contraction, keeping the this leg steady on the foot. So this is the action of the triceps. Sorry, when you need the forceful contraction, then this gastrocnemius, they are in action. And when you need this postural activity or quiet movement like in tiptoeing, then this soleus is in action, and it acts that working from below. When the this foot is on the ground and it is fixed, and then it is working on the leg, pulling that portion of the leg and extending that. And because of that, this muscle is said to be an important contributor in the upright gait or the upright stance of the human, as well as the bipedal locomotion. So this muscle, even the calf region, it is very characteristic of the human, not in the lower animal. This well developed calf portion, this is characteristic of human. So gastrocnemius and soleus both are plantar flexor of the foot, but gastrocnemius is the having this strong contraction for propulsion. So one wins the long jump sprinting through gastrocnemius, and soleus provides this stability through the sustained contraction because of this slow twitch fiber. So one maintains the gait in the plantar flexion through soleus, and one wins this ballet dancing competition. Now the tendocalcaneus is the tendon where this gastrocnemius, soleus and plantaris, they all are inserted. So this tendon, it is the thickest and the strongest tendon of the human body, and it begins at the mid calf region, and it gradually becomes, initially it is flattened portion where when it gets the fibers anteriorly from the gastrocnemius and posteriorly from the soleus as well as from the plantaris also. And it begins as a flattened portion, aponeutic portion at mid calf, and gradually it becomes more rounded, and about 1 inch above the calcaneus, it is the constellated rounded tendon. Then again it start expanding, and it is then attached to the posterior surface of the calcaneus. Now the vascularity of this tendocalcaneus is very poor, and this is mainly supplied by the recurrent branch from the posterior tibial artery. And because of this poor vascularity and the strain it has, and spiral nature of this tendocalcaneus, it is often prone to rupture, tendocalcaneus rupture or rupture of the Achilles tendon. And that is a difficult condition, since it is having this poor vascularity, it is difficult to heal. Now the deep group. Now the deep group, it consists of these muscles: popliteus, then flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, and tibialis posterior. Starting with the popliteus muscle, proximally it arises as a tendon from this lateral femoral condyle, and distally it is attached on the medial side of the tibia just below the medial condyle and above the soleal line. Now this has this vascularity from this popliteal artery, and now supplies the tibial nerve, and we will discuss in the knee joint how it helps in the unlocking of the knee joint by moving this portion, this the lateral condyle of the femur. So this is the popliteus. Next muscle is flexor digitorum longus. It originates from this posterior surface of the tibia just below the soleal line, below the attachment of soleus. From the origin, this fleshy belly it descends, and the lower end of the tibia it transforms into this tendon, and this tendon it passes through the flexor retinaculum and the medial portion of the sustentaculum tali, and in the then it passes into the sole, and from medial to it goes lateralward, and it is then divides into this foreslip, which is inserted into the bases of the distal phalanges of lateral forefoot. Now since this muscle originating from the medial portion, that is tibia, and goes towards the lateral foretoes, it crosses the tendon of tibialis posterior in the lower portion of the tibia, and this is known as the crural chiasma, and as it passes into the sole it crosses the tendon of flexor hallucis longus, and this is known as plantar chiasma. Now this muscle it is supplied by the branches of posterior tibial artery and innervated by the tibial nerve, and as it crosses the ankle joint, so it is the plantar flexure at the ankle joint, and it is the flexor to the phalanges. Now this is shown the course of the flexor digitorum longus along the sole as it passes through this portion of the sustentaculum tali. It then passes into the sole, and in the sole it crosses the tendon of flexor hallucis longus, and at this point onward this single tendon it divides for the lateral foreslips, and at this very moment it is joined by this muscle which is known as flexor accessorius, and after that this dividing tendon it gives origin to the lumbricals, and onward it goes, and after that the mode of insertion is similar to that in the hand, so like that of the flexor digitorum profundus. So here the flexor digitorum longus it passes through the split tendon of the flexor digitorum brevis, and then it is inserted by passing through the fibrous flexor sheath. It is inserted into the bases of the distal phalanx of the lateral foretoes. So this is the course of the flexor digitorum longus into the plantar aspect, into the sole. Now next muscle is this bulky and powerful muscle of the deeper compartment, which is the flexor hallucis longus. The flexor hallucis longus it originates from the distal two-third of the posterior surface of the shaft of the fibula, this portion, and the adjoining portion of the interosseous membrane. So it originates from the distal 2/3 of the posterior surface of the shaft of the fibula and the adjacent interosseous membrane. Then this bulky fleshy belly, it descends. This bulky fleshy belly descends, and as it descends, the in the uh, in the bulk of the muscle, in the core of the muscle, the tendon start appearing, and this tendon start appearing and this tendon is apparent at the lower end of the tibia. Then this tendon, it passes through this flexor retinaculum, and then beneath this centaculum tali it goes, and then it passes as a bowstring, and when it crosses the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus, as it goes medialward, coming from laterally it goes medialward, then it crosses the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus tendon, then it gives two strong slip to its medial two divisions, then it goes towards the base of the distal phalanx of the big toe, and then it is attached here. So it supports the medial longitudinal arch as it crosses the ankle joint, so it causes the plantar flexion here, and it is a strong flexure of the big toe. The propulsive movement provides that propulsive movement. Vascularity is by the branch of fibular artery, which runs between this muscle and the muscle underneath, which is the tibialis posterior. So it lies in this plane, and it provides the branch to this muscle. Innervation is by the tibial nerve, and action we have already discussed. So it also supports the medial longitudinal arch. It crosses as a bowstring. So these are the two chiasma. This is shown here. This is the chiasma related to the flexor hallucis longus, plantar chiasma. And before that, where this tendon of flexor digitorum longus crosses the tendon of tibialis posterior, this is known as the crural chiasma. And next is this deeply seated muscle, just lying posterior to the interosseous membrane. This is the tibialis posterior. Tibialis posterior, it originates as two tapered process, a medial process and a lateral process, and these two tapered process, they are separated by the angular interval. These two processes, they are separated by the angular interval, and this angular interval is traversed by the anterior tibial vessels. It passes from this posterior compartment to the anterior compartment of the leg through the gap in the upper portion of the interosseous membrane. So these two process, the medial process, it originates from the posterior surface of the tibia, shaft of the tibia, this upper portion, and the adjacent portion of the interosseous membrane, and this lateral process originates from the posterior surface of the shaft of the fibula adjacent to the interosseous membrane and the adjacent part of the interosseous membrane. And these two processes, from these two processes, the muscle belly, it goes downwards and it passes underneath the flexor retinaculum, then it passes superficial to the deltoid ligament. In the lower portion, it passes through the lower portion of the tibia. It is crossed superficially by the tendon of flexor digitorum longus, which is known as the crural chiasma. Then it passes through this flexor retinaculum and passes just superficial to the deltoid ligament and goes towards the sole. In the sole, it is divided into this two division, a superficial and a deep. The superficial fiber, they are the direct continuation of the tendon, and they are attached to the tuberosity of the navicular and the adjacent medial cuneiform, on the inferior surface of the medial cuneiform. And this deeper lateral fiber, they diverge and they are attached to the intermediate and lateral cuneiform and the bases of second, third and fourth metatarsal. So these fiber, they act as direct antagonist of the fibers of Peonius brevis and tertius. And these fibers, they cause inversion. The fibers of Peonius brevis and tertius, they causes eversion. So it is supplied by the branch of posterior tibial artery and fibular artery. Innervation is by the tibial nerve, and as we have discussed, it causes this from this plantar aspect is depresses lower down the lateral margin. So it causes the inversion as this passes through the ankle joint, causes the plantar flexion at the ankle joint, and since it is crossing this medial portion, it maintains the medial longitudinal arch of the foot. Now next is this course of this portion. So here this is the deep seated muscle, and as it crosses in the lower portion of the tibia, the fiber of this the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus, it crosses it, and this is known as the crural chiasma. Then it passes through the flexor retinaculum, and here this is the portion when it divides into a superficial slip which is attached to the navicular and mediate cuneiform, and this deeper slip which is attached to the intermediate and lateral cuneiform and the bases of second, third and fourth metatarsal. Here it is shown. Superficial and deep slips. Now this flexor retinaculum, this is the consolidation of the deep fascia beneath which passes the structure of the posterior compartment, especially the deep structure and the neurovascularity. Now its attachment anteriorly, it is attached to the tip of the medial malleus, beyond which the portion, the flexor retinaculum, it merges with the deep fascia of the anterior portion of the leg, and posterior-inferiorly it is attached to the medial process of the calcaneus, and beyond which it is merging with. Now this portion, this groove, which is the groove on the tibia and the calcaneus, this is transformed by this flexor retinaculum, which is the consolidation of the deep fascia or the crural fascia. It is transformed into a osseofacious tunnel or the canal, and this osseofacious tunnel is known as the tarsal tunnel, and it harbors this tendon of from this deep portion of the posterior portion of the leg and the neurovascularity. So it contains the tibial nerve, posterior tibial artery and vein, and the tendons, and the order from medial to lateral are the tendon of the tibial is posterior, then is the tendon of flexor digitorum longus, then is the posterior tibial vessels, then is the tibial nerve, and lateral most is the tendon of flexor hallucis longus. So during the surgery at this portion, at the ankle joint or at this tarsal tunnel, one must explore the tendon of the flexor hallucis longus and laterally, because going medialward will only harm the neurovascularity. So this is the surgical landmark, the tendon of the flexor hallucis longus. So lateral 2 is the safer portion, and here since the portion of the posterior tibial vessels, they are in relation to the skin here. They are superficially lying, so they can be pressed and its pulsation can be felt here. Now the tarsal tunnel syndrome, since this is an osseofacial unyielding type of canal or tunnel, any osseous deformity like fracture, or in case of the tendon, any tear, because the tendon here passes through the synovial sheath, so that may cause decrease in the space of this tunnel, and that may compress the nerve within, which is the tibial nerve. So because of that, this causes the syndrome, and this syndrome is known as the tarsal tunnel syndrome. And compression of this nerve causes the burning or tingling sensation over the sole, and it is worsened by the activity. It is similar to the carpal tunnel syndrome, so it is worsened by the activity. So this is the tarsal tunnel syndrome because of compression of tibial nerve into this tarsal tunnel or beneath the flexor retinaculum. Now the vascularity, the posterior tibial artery, this is the posterior tibial artery. And the posterior tibial artery, it is branching off as a terminal branch, one of the terminal branch from the popliteal artery. Another branch is the anterior tibial artery. We have already discussed. This is the artery which is the artery of the posterior compartment, posterior tibial artery. Anterior tibial artery, it bifurcates and goes from this gap in the superior portion of the interosseous membrane, it goes to the anterior compartment, and posterior tibial artery remains in this posterior compartment. So it is one of the terminal branch of the popliteal artery and begins at the lower border of the popliteus. Here is the bifurcation. So it begins at the lower border of the popliteus, then it passes downward, lying deep to the gastrocnemius. These are the fibers of the gastrocnemius, so lying deep to the gastrocnemius and the soleus, especially the arch of the soleus, soleal arch. So it lies just beneath the soleal arch or lies just anterior to the soleal arch. Then here it lies on the posterior surface of the tibialis posterior above, and below it is in relation to the posterior surface of the tibia in the lower part. So above it is related to the posterior surface of the tibialis posterior, and below it is related to the posterior surface of the tibia. And in the lower part of the leg, this is when it passes through this portion. Before that, it is only related to the skin and the crural fascia. Then it passes behind the medial malleolus deep to the flexor retinaculum, and then it goes towards the sole where it divides into the medial and lateral plantar arteries. Now the branches, there is one big branch which is bifurcating from this. This is the fibular artery. We have discussed it in the peroneal compartment and the fibular lateral compartment. So the fibular artery which bifurcates from it, sometimes bifurcate even at the level of the popliteal artery, or it generally bifurcates just below the lower margin of the popliteus. So this is the peroneal or the fibular artery. Then there is a one branch known as circumflex fibular artery, and this circumflex branch of the fibular artery, it passes from this portion lateralwards, and it this circumflex fibular artery, it passes around the neck of the fibula and contributes into the anastomosis around the knee joint. Then is the muscular branches. And the muscular branches, they are supplied to the deep group muscles as well as the soleus. Then there is a big branch which is known as the nutrient artery to the tibia, which is the big branch, and it pierces through the tibialis posterior just below the soleal line. It pierces the tibialis posterior and it is supplied to the tibia. Then are the perforating branches. There are 4 to 5 perforating branches which are supplied to the deeper portion as well as to the skin and the fascia. Then are the communicating branches. Then these are the communicating branches. Then are the medial malleolar branches which contributes to the anastomosis around this medial malleolus. Then are the calcaneal branches which contributes to the anastomosis around this heel calcaneus portion as well as around the medial malleolus also. And finally they are the terminal branches, medial and lateral plantar arteries. So these are the branches of the posterior tibial artery. Next is the nervation portion of this compartment, which is the tibial nerve, which is the ventral branches from the nerve root being L4, L5, S1, S2 and S3, and it is the larger terminal branch of the sciatic nerve. And sometimes the sciatic nerve is subdivides high up, but usually the division is in the lower third of the posterior portion of the thigh. And then this nerve, it descends through the popliteal fossa lying just medial to the popliteal artery. And as it descends down, it passes deep to the gastrocnemius, then it passes deep to the soleal arch, and then it lies on the posterior surface of the tibialis posterior, lower down the leg on the posterior surface of the tibia. Now in this course, it is accompanied by the posterior tibial artery, which at first lies just the nerve being medial and the artery being lateral. So this posterior tibial artery at first lies just lateral to it, and then this nerve, it crosses the artery from this posterior aspect, and then the nerve becomes lateral to the artery. Then the artery becomes medially and the nerve becomes laterally, and in this fashion it passes behind the medial malleolus between the tendons of flexor digitorum longus and flexor hallucis longus. So this is the branches. It gives muscular branches to the deep group as well as to the soleus. So it gives branches to the soleus, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus and tibialis posterior. Then it gives two cutaneous branches. One is known as the medial cutaneous branch and another is the sural nerve, which gives the supply to this lateral portion of the calf as well as to this lateral margin of the foot, which gets this communicating branch from this peroneal nerve, common peroneal nerve, lateral communicating branch from this common peroneal nerve. And there are two set of articular branches, one to the knee proximally and to the ankle distally. And finally this nerve, it divides into its terminal branches, medial plantar and lateral plantar nerves. Now this is the overview how we proceed with the dissection in this compartment. Initially we remove the skin flap, then we note the deep fascia, which is the crural fascia, and the cutaneous nerve. The cutaneous nerve here, which are the medial sural cutaneous nerve and lateral sural cutaneous nerve, medial being the branch of tibial, lateral being the branch of the common peroneal. and then the lower portion of the calf, these portion, the sural nerve, it pierces through the deep fascia, and this vein, small saphenous vein, it also pierces to go deeper. So this portion is here, it can be noted, and saphenous nerve is there. High up, we can also appreciate the continuation of the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So these are the cutaneous branches. And the vein, this is the small saphenous vein from this lateral continuation of the dorsal venous arch, and it proceeds towards the mid calf where it dips down, piercing through the deep fascia, and finally it opens into the popliteal vein. When we remove these fascia and this cutaneous structure, we see this fleshy belly of the gastrocnemius, and how they are being finally merging and forming the flattened tendon on the anterior aspect and forming this tendoaculus or the calcaneal tendon. And this tendocalcaneus, in the lower portion we can appreciate the soleus, which is lying underneath the gastrocnemius. So next is, we remove the gastrocnemius and we can appreciate the soleus as well as the plantaris. Here the gastrocnemius has been removed. Then we cut the soleus. We can do a window dissection or we can remove it completely, reflect it, and we should now note down the muscles of the deep groove. So they are the flexor digitorum longus, then is the this flexor hallucis longus, and between them, peeping through them, is the tendon of tibialis posterior. On the higher portion we can appreciate the tendon muscle which is the popliteus, and neurovascularity is also appreciated, which is lying on the posterior surface of the tibialis posterior. So we can appreciate the tibial nerve and the posterior tibial vessels, and we should always appreciate their relations, how the nerve is lying medially on the upper portion, then it is lying just posterior to the artery, and finally it is going lateral to the artery. Here also these are the cut portion which are shown. Deep groove. So this is the deeper portion, which is the tibialis posterior, then this is the flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus. Here the flexor digitorum longus has been cut, and we can appreciate how this portion crosses. This is the crural chiasma. So here it crosses the tendon of the tibialis posterior. So we cut it and we can appreciate the deep groove. Now this is all about the posterior compartment. Thank you.